which I think still would have been fine.
People asking for infinite maps, okay? Get a better computer already. Like imagine the whole Warhammer world as one map. Just play real time on everything. Okay. Bretonia or Norska, Satsuma?
I'll talk about Norska.
Alright, go ahead.
So, what do we have? Well, for the Lord Choice, it's obviously Wulfric on his Mammoth. Been the standard pick for a while. Shaman Sorcerer of Metal with the the final transmutation. Is he the only wizard? He does seem to be the only wizard. Interesting. So there's going to be some overcasting, I think. Then front line is a mix of Marauders and Berserkers. Good. Obviously, Marauders just can shield the Berserkers from archers and cav charges. On the flanks, we've got on each side a Skin Wolf and a Norscan Ice Wolf, or two Skin Wolves on one side, and yeah, an extra Ice Wolf as well. And Beast of Tashnar, just to harass. Really nice unit.
Okay.
Fairly simple plan. Not much to say. Run forward, use the Skin Wolves to zone out Cav, and Wulfric will crush everything in the middle.
I mean, it is Norska. I mean, if there are two factions that bring rather typical builds across different matchups, it's definitely the Bretonians and the Norskins these days. Bretonia has really found their style, I would say. Seeing that again, a row of peasant mob and 3 spears, which is about as much of an investment into infantry as you're ever going to see from Bretonia in current meta. And then the peasant bowmen, 2 of them with box arrows, great at just slowing down units, getting more hits off. And of course, debuffing key engagements. And then, of course, the majority of the army goes into the cavalry. We have Knights of the Realm. There are 3 units in total. Or are there 4? No, there are 3 units in total. There's 1 Grail Guardian. There is a Companion of Canal. And then a hero squad consisting of the Fey Enchantress, Awakening of the Wood, Earthblood, the Green Knight, and the Paladin. Buff them up harder. Satsuma, now that we've looked at both armies, what do you think is the worst thing that can happen to Bretonia in this battle?
I think it's blobbing their hero squad and all their expensive knights around Wulfric to try and overwhelm him, and the Green Knight eating a fat, overcasted final transmutation.
Yeah, so tank, actually with a pretty smart pick here. The final transmutation, very effective against these character blobs in particular. Of course, Astolfo or Astolfo, whatever. He calls himself Astolfo on Steam, but I'm saying Astolfo because that's the name he signed up with. Astolfo is easier to say though, so let's just call him Astolfo. So he will see that Sorcerer and maybe split up his units. We'll see if he avoids the blob fight.
He doesn't seem to have noticed the Vanguard.
Beast of Tashnar, you mean?
Yep.
Yep, they're in the back. Maybe he sees them on the minimap. Nice dodge here already coming out from the Norscan Ice Wolves.
Other Ice Wolves dodging the hero blob.
Yep. Not a fight they want. Everyone is retreating. Wulfric is coming in though. Not sure if he wants to dive in there, but he has support. Would be fine.
Faye wouldn't want that fight.
No, she would not. She would not. Although with her trusty Grail Knights and Companions of Canal there, she might not be too afraid. The Archer Fire on the Marauder Berserkers. The Bretonians are counting backwards a little bit.
Yeah, what do you expect?
Nice charge here from the Knights of the Realm. Yeah, I would kite backwards from that. Bunch of crazy Norsemen and Skin Wolves. A good charge here. Skin Wolves send into counter, but seem to be a second too late, although they are going to get some hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing Astolfo does really well in his gameplay, I think, is readjusting his formation, not just standing there and taking it. Sometimes forces the opponent to not...
Wulfric is getting massive value. Look at that. One peasant mob,
How did I
terrified
lose?
already.
Oh yes, you were being sarcastic, I get it. Yeah, he's getting the peasant mob, but a big engagement on the flank here. Seems like a perfect target for a final transmutation, but Shaman Sorcerer is currently not in range. And meanwhile, main line. A lot of the Norscan unsupported units just getting swarmed and
Yeah.
broken.
He's got to pull out those skin wolves. Oh, they're breaking.
Of course, skin wolves could be back, but a lot of them have already died, so this looks like dire losses on the right flank. Or, well, the left flank of Norscan, the right flank of the Bretonnians. On the other flank, they're doing way better, though, but I think the final transmutation needs to come in now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the skin wolves overchased those Knights of the Realm when the Knights of the Realm pulled back, and so the skin
Ooh,
wolves
here
got
it
pulled
comes.
into the infantry.
The Green Knight taking massive damage. The Enchantress taking massive damage. Paladin taking massive damage.
We're trying to
Probably
nuke
live
the
through it, but...
Green Knight. He's got the Hunter of Champions on him. I don't think that's the right target. I think the Paladin is the right target.
yeah, kill the Paladin, everything else becomes easier to kill. Or if you're feeling a little bit lucky, maybe go for the Fae first, try to get rid of the healing. I mean, she is stuck in Wolves, though. Wulfric, I think, could turn around and do good damage to her. We're looking at a pretty even battle.
He's got 75% missile resist. Oh, sorry, yeah, physical resist with the Paladin around.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just healed right up.
Yeah. So, Wulfric maybe wasted his time a little bit there. Now switch targets, though. He's getting hit in the back by the Green Knight at the same time. And the rest of the battle, due to how horrible that first engagement went, doesn't seem to be developing very well for the Norskins either.
Yeah.
Skin Wolves, though, slowly getting that regen. We're not down for the count just yet.
Archers are shooting mostly unopposed. I'd like him to weave the Beast of Tashnar into those archers.
Yep, archers could be compromised by the Skin Wolves and Norscan Ice Wolves that have rallied in the back. Those units are now starting to move. But Wulfric is slowly losing his support, and on his own against all of these units, I don't think he's going to have a good time.
No.
Demon Sorcerer tries to stop the Questing Knight charge, but just gets bowled over by them. For tank, he will be able to survive, get another final transmutation, because I think he needs it quite badly at this point.
He needs a huge one.
Ooh.
Just Astolfo is slightly overcommitting here, but I think he's still fine.
Yeah, it seems like it. The Skin Wolves do come in though, going onto the Peasant Bowman, big charge there, proper cycle charging. Could route the other peasants quite quickly as well. We get another final transmutation. No, that looks like an Earthblood. It's the opposite that tank needed. And Wulfric is routing.
That's over.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like that first engagement on tank's left flank went so badly. And then the engagement with Wulfric, the big engagement with the hero blob, he got some work done, but not enough to compensate for the rest of the battle going wrong.
Yeah. And I think that just comes down to micro, because in theory, the Norskins should be able to get the better engagement against the Bretonnian Cav. Because the idea is the Bretonnians can't stand there and take the infantry fight. And so they need to, it's the Bretonnian Cav that needs to charge into the Norscan infantry. And at that point, if tank's quick enough, he can countercharge and he can get the better engagement. Whereas he was just a bit late on that, and he ended up running into the Bretonnian infantry and getting his large units caught in the infantry.
Yeah, true. Bretonnia plays a very similar style across different matchups these days, and what I often find is that going for a flank seems to be a mistake. Because you can't win a pure mobility fight against them, and it exposes your main line to cavalry charges. I think, as you're saying, you really want to take that cav fight. Well, technically it's not really a cav fight, but the mobility fight near your own infantry, as you are forcing those knights to come in and charge. But of course, there's also usually pretty heavy archer pressure. And the mobility of the Bretonnians makes it kind of hard to just outmaneuver them.
Yeah, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. Requires very solid control, especially against definitely one of the best Bretonnian players out there.
Yeah.
But we saw random nicks come back after a loss in the first series. It could happen again. I would say Astolfo is, of course, good with several factions, but he's definitely spent his best one.
Yep.
Fimir probably still the way, but this is a pretty good advertisement for Bale Fiends. Yeah, Fimir, we didn't see them there. They are quite good against Bretonia, for sure.
Yeah, they're just a bit more expensive now.
Small note that one peasant unit for 28 kills. Iron Foxy calling out the true heroes of the battle.
I guess the nice thing about Famir is that you're not too worried about that Archer Pretra with all their armor, and my Norscan knowledge is letting me down, but do they have a intrinsic missile resist as well?
Once their leadership, well, when their leadership is up, they have 22% missile resist. On top of the armor, that's a lot of resistance against archers. The only problem with the Fimir, I guess, is that they're slower than a Bretonnian cav and more expensive, so it's hard to cover enough ground with them. But they are definitely a solid unit. One thing I didn't mention is I really love the inclusion of those Grail Guardians. Just so good at killing huge amounts of infantry. If magic damage against any skin wolves that might be coming your way. Maybe not the greatest in case there's Fimir, but he had other tools to deal with them.
Yep. Greenskins picked into the Empire and Dark Elves, which I really like. Those are two pretty strong matchups for Greenskins.
Yeah, I'd say so. Empire, of course, definitely with the tools to put up a fight against anyone. But Greenskins... they're quite scary for them, no doubt. If there's the classic matchup in Warhammer, it's this one. Whether you mean in the game or, you know, just in the lore.
Yeah, they're always duking it out.
Tank says he doesn't have a pre-made build. Probably opening up a certain video on builds as we're speaking.
Of course, what you should be doing is Googling all my games.
Ah. Well, maybe we'll see you in one of the future group stages and you can show people how to do it.
If I get that matchup, yeah. I mean, I would say that partly because I think of all his factions, Greenskins has got to be Falcon's one of his worst. I've never really seen him play Greenskins in a tournament.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, he did beat the High Elves with them in the HWL finals, yeah. But that was a bit of a weird game. Where the High Elves tried to camp the forest and like one Wolf Rider Archer was enough to force them out of it, so it wasn't the best plan ever, I would say.
Yeah.
We had like Rock Lobbers against Phoenix Guard. He had all the counters he needed against the army he faced, even though it was a bit of an uncommon army.
Earth and fire.
Or was it the Phoenix
Heed my
Guard?
call.
It was like White Lions and Phoenix Guard standing in a forest, hoping to, I guess, outgrind trolls and get the buffs on the White Lions. It was a bit, you know, that entire series until like the last couple games, I felt like Soothsayer was just not playing with the confidence that we're used to seeing from him. He was kind of relying on, you know, defensive play and hoping that, you know, some luck, I guess, or advantageous tactical situation would pull him through. And I played with him a lot, especially in Warhammer 1, so Of course, I can't look inside his mind, but that's what it looked like to me. If he was fully confident, I think he also would have gone Empire or Bretonnia. As a blind pick and not Coast. But, you know, in the end he still did really well.
Did.
My Andri 1492. Well, you're old, dude. Thank you for the follow. I think the biggest thing was the Fae wasn't focused even though she was right behind Wulfric. He could have gone for her. I'm not sure if she would have died. Would have definitely been more opportune than kill the Green Knight.
Yeah. Just anything but the Green Knight.
Yeah, anything but the Green Knight.
The Paladin as well. I think the Fae has 20% base physical resist, so it's 35% with the Paladin nearby, which is...
Wait, the
I mean,
Fae has physical resistance?
On her...
Oh yeah, the Blessing of the Lady.
The lady, yeah.
Yeah.
So she gets up to 35 with the Guardian.
Hmm.
Which is not... Obviously, it's not insurmountable. Someone like Wulfric can still crush her, but... I feel like if you beat the Fae, then she just runs away and regrowths herself.
Kill Paladin, kill Fae, kill Green Knight. That's the order Prince would do it. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the Paladin doesn't give the Guardian to himself, right?
Correct. And if you damage the Paladin, he can't just run away. Well, if he runs away, then it makes it much easier to kill the Fae and the Green Knight.
Yeah. Right, we're loading in. Let's go. Let's see if Astolfo will be random next to his opponent, or whether Tank will bring it back.
Tension is almost unbearable.
I mean, no matter who goes through here, like, I think everyone still has a chance to make it. Also, Gobbo Slayer is waiting in the lower bracket. It's not completely decisive, but it's definitely a big step towards the winner's final and eventual playoffs. Well, it is, of course, step into the winner's final, but big step towards the playoffs. I guess you want the greenskins, Satsuma.
Yeah, I mean, you probably want them too, but I should talk about
I'm fine with Empire. I'm fine with Empire.
This looks like a greenskin build, like pre-DLC. That's that's what really jumps out of me. It's Azag, which, I mean, he's still fine, but
yes, you're not a big fan, I realize.
yeah, I'm not a huge fan. But also like Skarsnik with his fungi is pretty nice, and his huge HP pool. He's one of the few lords that you can't just fireball or spirit leech or anything like that. Well, you can, but it takes a long time to kill him. Then he's got 3 Savage Orc Biggins, which, you know, fine, but you do have to get your micro right against Cav. They'll do great if they catch them, but not if they're getting cycle charged, unlike Black Orcs, which can survive the cycle charge. But for that, if you have a whole line of Savage Orc Biggins, your whole army is just faster, which is nice.
Yes.
And then he has triple Nasty Skulker. And again, that's why I say this feels like a old school build, because you used to have to bring all these Skulkers because you didn't have all the snares on your characters.
Honestly, I just brought cavalry, my own cavalry.
Yeah, you won't. And also, that's the other thing. Your balls have now been buffed quite a lot. So, the plus 15 armor, you can bring your own balls now for mass. You have so many snares on your own characters. Like Skulkers, this is like old school. It's really old school.
But I like the army. We'll see how it does. Let's look at the Empire army. Looks like a very cheap and spread out line. I usually like to see layered lines, but it seems main line here is just a distraction. This huge mass of cavalry of the Blazing Sun, Empire Knights coupled with the Pistoliers. It's the real hammer of this army. It's probably going to look towards cleaning up one flank at a time, if they can. Ooh, Azag. Taking a decent amount of damage already. Carl on the hunt for him, but shouldn't be able to catch him, really. What do you think of the Empire double caster?
I don't think Burning Head gives you quite enough value to be worth the extra caster.
Maybe
I mean,
not, but against
Burning
these
Head's a great spell. Or
Vegans?
Skulkers.
Oh, the Squigs getting a nice charge on the Pistoliers here. Are they going to catch another one?
Oh, they need to run now.
Yeah,
They
they
are
need to
running.
run before the calf comes in. It looks like they are running, and they are getting the Skulker support.
Nice play, and they're running the Skulkers. This needs to bring in his Biggins now.
Will we see a smoke bomb? Smoke bomb. No smoke bomb.
Sometimes it's not the player's fault. Sometimes it's just due to where the center of mass of the two units are.
Yeah, but he didn't use the smoke bomb, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there it
Sometimes
is.
if you're hovering over it, you can see that it doesn't catch things.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how did they catch that unit which had the banner like 50 meters away?
Well, the banner guy can be
Yeah.
way off in the distance. A Burning Head, good reaction from tank. Does look like his flank is kind of suffering.
Yep.
Most of his army has not really adjusted. His 3 units currently not moving. 4, actually 5, 6 units currently not moving on that right flank. While the left flank is getting overloaded. Even Azak having to jump into combat now to get rid of those knights.
Yeah.
Seems he's getting caught by Carl and cavalry, and that's not a fight he wants. Spirit leads on the Pistoliers, probably a misclick.
He's pulled out.
Azak is getting away.
He's pretty slippery.
Look at the flank overload. The Empire is just going ham.
Yeah.
Now the greenskin reserves are pouring in.
In these situations where your opponent is trying to flank overload, what you need to do is pull your infantry back, so you're more in less of a line and more of a kind of circle blob formation.
Yeah, I definitely had to adjust this formation
nice
faster, but of course, when the enemy army is faster in general, it's kind of hard to readjust and also recognize what's happening. But it seems the greenskins, they have now turned their right flank towards the center, and they've created a pretty strong front of units here to hold back this Empire advance.
Knights of the Blazing Sun trying to get through to the archers, but actually they've just run into Savage Orc Biggins and got fanatics.
Oh, the fanatics are going into the greenskin units, just barely stopping and going the right direction before they would have hit this blob, which would have been disastrous. But yeah, the greenskins, they may actually be holding this, despite what looked like a pretty disastrous engagement early on. Carl is now going for Azak, getting a big hit there. Azak has to get away. Get the slippery Azak. I think he's getting away.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think as long as the Empire keep their Jade Wizard alive and with enough healing to heal Franz, I like the Empire's position better.
Yeah, but look at the position of the Jade Wizard. Would it not be very easy for Azag to go and assassinate him, as he's doing to the Bright Wizard right now? Yes, there it goes. Astolfo pulls out. Seems a little premature. But I do think Tank was getting the upper hand there after what looked like a pretty disastrous early game.
That was premature.
Yeah, I would say so. I hope he didn't drop. I don't think he dropped because it would have showed us that. I suspect. Should have been a message if it was a drop. I think he just pulled out. Even though it was a little bit early. But when you still have a very high health Franz, you can still do a lot.
Yeah, I've seen Franz carry in worse situations than that.
I think his cavalry was very low.
Yeah.
And so he probably thought he didn't have the means to kill the Savage Orc Biggins, which were still quite healthy.
Yeah. In some ways you know better when you're in game. If he manages to get a good fight on on Azag with Franz, then you can see everything terrorized.
Alright, here we go. Long will. Ace match. Tank making this a series.
Yep.
Very often, to be honest, you can see when the game is lost and you're just prolonging the inevitable. Sometimes even when you just see the opponent's army, you know you lost. True, but I feel like, you know, stuff can happen. Like, let's say Azak just barely gets caught by the knights, gets routed by Karl, gets chased off. Stuff like that can happen in the battle.
Big burning head calls the terror out.
Yeah, especially if you have healing, I feel like there's always a comeback. But I do agree that Tank was turning that game around and still had a lot of healthy units against a lot of depleted units and Karl.
Yeah.
That's if your opponent doesn't make display. True. I pick 3 now. Asks Tank. Yes. Astolfo still has Norska, still has Ghost, still has a lot of factions at his disposal. Quite versatile, so we'll see which combo Tank brings.
We haven't seen counts, for example. We haven't seen any undead from Tank.
Tank, of course, pretty good with counts. Was his first main faction. We'll see if he goes for them. Yeah, he puts them in there. High elves, vampire counts, lizards. Quite a versatile selection of factions there, I would say. See what Astolfo responds with.
Well, this is a really minor thing, but what I'm not a big fan of is that I think he's put his factions in order of preference.
Do you think so?
Actually, this is fine in your system. I'm thinking of the banner rules picking. When you get to ban one of them.
Yeah, because that doesn't favor the counter picker at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit rough for a long time. You know, what people always do in that, almost everyone, they always put their favorite factions first.
Yeah.
Like if you I find whenever I pick something, really often they'll pick one of their first one too.
Yeah.
The last one is often a throwaway.
But it's so difficult, man, when there's a ban in play.
Yeah.
Because basically, you need to make sure that any combination of 2 factions, and I suck at math, but I think there's like 3 different options, or 6, like 6 different options, can deal with anything the opponent has left if there's a ban. And now we're getting Dark Elves into High Elves, which I like. I think that's quite fair, quite interesting as well.
There's three combinations. There's just each of the bands. Yeah, you have to think about 40 different matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree your system's better. What I suggested to Aero a little while ago was that the person who ends up picking one has to first draft, say, 5 factions.
Yeah, my only issue with that idea, it's not that I think it's imbalanced or whatever, favoring a certain player. It's just, usually this phase in tournaments takes the longest. And especially if it's like you have to pick 5 factions. Like I did a tournament once where players had to draft factions for every series, which in theory works pretty well. Like you're putting factions into your pool, and you know that can kind of balance things out. because the other player doesn't have as many factions available, but it just takes way too long. I sometimes spend more than an hour waiting for one best of 3 to finish after I've already played 2 series. And I don't know how it happens, but I think like taking a long time to decide which matchup you're even going to play is part of the reason.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Elves versus Dark Elves, classic. Oh yeah. After we had Greenskins versus Empire too. Exactly.
What do you think of this one?
The matchup?
The matchup.
So, I think it's pretty even. High Elves, of course, the more versatile faction. From Dark Elves, you can pretty much expect Cold One Knight, Scourge Under Chariots, probably cheap infantry, right? Well, whereas the High Elves, not a, huge High Elf nerd, but I think they can bring different things. They can bring their own cavalry, they can bring a big army, they can bring more elite army with single entities and, the Alarial style, which is something you usually see. And Bird Techless, or a Peckless as they call him a lot of the time as well, is just made for this matchup, I think. Can kill Malekith, provide a lot of healing, has the nuts to win cav engagement, snipe enemy characters. Just an all-around great Lord choice for this matchup.
Yeah. It's an interesting point about the wide armies because this is a problem I sometimes have as greenskins into high elves, which is if you don't have a good heavy cav unit, then actually it's quite difficult to shut down Loth and Seaguard. For example, if Cold One Knights charge into Loth and Seaguard, it doesn't really feel great.
Yeah, exactly, it doesn't. Green says my favorite quote by Tank is, "Remember that I'm not a high elf player," when he picks high elves. I mean, I play Bretonia quite a bit, but I wouldn't call myself a Bretonia player. It's just, I mean, I feel like if you're mostly playing things as your third option or as your counter pick, like, yeah, you play the faction, but I think when someone says I'm a insert name of certain faction player, that they mean they're a main. And I'm not sure if I would call him a high elf main. He did start picking them first at some point though, instead of vampire accounts. Wonder how we got to that conclusion. I think he does that to emphasize how OP he thinks they are. Well, if you think something is OP, playing it is the best thing you can do. It's definitely better than complaining about it, in my opinion.
I agree. But he plays Norska though, so what's the point? Well, Norska are the other faction, like High Elves, that although they're both strong. Neither of them's completely broken, but they both have very few bad matchups.
Yeah. Isle's definitely the more versatile of the two, though. Against Dark Elves, it's always a pretty even fight. Let's see how both players approach this. I already say we're going to see something rather unexpected from the High Elves. But I'm going to go over the Dark Elves. You know why. So let's see. The Dark Elves. Astolfo, of course, big fan of cavalry, bringing the 4 Cold One Knights, 2 Dark Riders repeated crossbows, 2 Scourge Under Chariots, and who is this? It's Malekith, of course, with the Soul Stealer and the awesome Gaze of Malice, very good against those tightly packed units. And he has the Chill Wind, okay, that's going to be interesting, also good against those tightly packed units. Of course, he's bringing Dragon Breaths as well. And this doesn't leave a lot for infantry, which is usually fine in this game. There's just a small, sad collection of Bleak Swords, 2 units, and 3 Dread Spears for the High Elves. Go ahead, Satsuma.
4 Silvering Guard, and again they do well against pretty much everything apart from things that you're not going to see, like Executioners, which seem like a weird pick. Then we've got 4 Loth and Seaguard, and again, like I was saying, there's Dark Elf options to shut these guys down. None of them feel fantastic. And here's the slightly rogue bit. We've got 4 war lions, which I guess he's doing this out of fear of the scourge runners. Because either if you pick dragon princes here, you always end up losing models to scourge runners. So I think that's his logic here. They're slightly smaller. They've got a little bit of missile resist, so they probably hold up a little bit better to that. And we've also got true. That's all. But they're smaller and cheaper, and I think they're better at dodging. Hmm. I think the thing about war lions is that you don't want them to take a head-on cav charge with the Cold War Knights. Their function is more to countercharge from behind infantry. We'll see if tank does that, but that's how I would use them. You wait for the Cold War Knights even to charge your Wrath and Sea Guard. Don't intercept them. Just wait for the charge into spears, and then countercharge.
Yeah, there's lions of... Well, it's written Grace, but everyone says Trace. I'm not sure why. Let's just call them the Lion Chariots. There's a Lethenar. That is the surprising part about this build. Allows them to get a bigger army. And yeah, there's a Mage of Death with just a Spirit Leech. Wonder what that's going to do. Probably trickle down Malekith's health over the course of a battle.
Yeah. Well, there's no Slaanesha's Harvesters, which obviously would be the best target, the Spirit Leech, because of their high physical resistance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Low HP.
Yeah, Malekith is such an expensive target though, and can't heal himself that much with the Soul Stealer actually. Fails to even heal cap himself on the... Ooh, that was a big shot onto 3 blobbed units. How many did it kill? Assume I do the counting.
I was looking at the white war lines charging into those.
Actually, we can just look at his kill count. 22! 22 kills on
Very
Cold War
nice.
Knights. And Dark Rider, Peter Crossbows, Lethenar OP.
Actually. I mean, to be fair, he's one of those lords that he'd be fine in a lot of factions. But when
Yeah.
you've got a Lariel...
Yeah, but I think like the way he's being used here is definitely quite effective. He's just trying to take out the knights, and so far he's doing a pretty good job at it. 27 kills. And a Spirit Leech. So
That's interesting. He's going for the upgraded version of Spirit Leech just so he can reach those Cold War Knights. The Malekith
Yeah.
was available as the target for a non-upgraded one.
I mean, maybe because he can kill models on them faster, he knows he's not going to kill Malekith quickly. Although
Yeah, you could
Malekith,
use the combat ability. That's not a great fight.
coming in with the Soul
It's not a
Stealer.
great fight.
And he took a bit of damage there, but he's pulling out again and got a fat Soul Stealer, so I don't think he's too unhappy about that. Look at these chariots go. They're unopposed.
Great work.
Just rushing through these infantry. Focus fire on Malekith. Might switch targets to the Cold War Knights pretty soon here, because those were his
I don't like
priorities
those
soon.
war lines coming out, even though they got a really nice charge, and the cold ones didn't countercharge. I don't think they're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, they're getting killed here, but they are buying some time for 3 Lothern Sea Guard to just keep unloading on these units. But there is at least a little bit of a trade-off, but now the Scourge Runners are coming in from the back. Cavalry is coming in from the side. The front line looks
And the front
safe
as
though,
well.
for the most part. I mean, the infantry is not really threatening in the end.
But there's a couple of units that are miles away from everything else. On the high elf left.
Yeah, now the back line is getting compromised. I mean, you have charge defense in these Lotherns, but Doesn't really help when they're getting charged in the back, so you can see they're actually losing
They're
combat.
lobbed on top of each other as well.
Yep.
It
Tends to happen when they move to shoot stuff. Ooh, the Dragon Breath wipes out the Dread Spears. Malekith, what a traitor. They say Dark Elves have no friends, not even each other, and we could really see that here.
Nice Soul Stealer about to come in, I think.
Yeah, and suddenly it's looking rough for tank.
Yeah, I think.
Right flank getting routed. Middle Silverin Guard unengaged. Elithan are about to get caught. Backline compromised. What can they do? Turn this around.
He threw away his lions.
Yeah, that's what happened, but what can he do to turn this around?
Okay,
that was a question.
Nothing, clearly.
Okay, fair enough.
Giant terror out, and the
thanks for making the battle more exciting through your casting abilities, Insuma. Yeah, I think that just looks really bad. Like, suddenly everything's surrounded, everything's routing. Malekith still has a Soul Stealer.
Ability, so everything is gonna... Nothing's gonna come back.
Yeah.
Very little.
Quite close to the edge of the map there, and... yeah, how the tides they turn. I mean, the chariots are doing what they can.
Oh yeah, they're doing a great job.
Yeah, but they're only killing the infantry, and I don't feel like the infantry is the problem right now. I think it's Malekith and the cavalry and the Dark Riders.
I like the sort of thematic element of tanks build. All the lions.
All the lions, yeah.
I feel like those chariots, they're kind of doing what the lions do anyway.
Sort of, although the lions were more there for the mass, and the chariots were there to specifically kill the infantry. But tank is getting some good engagements now. He's getting some of the Dark Rider crossbows engaged. Dealt a lot of damage to them. They're actually wavering now.
Yeah.
Maybe there's still a way back into this. And if only he had something to chase these routing Dark Riders, right? But it doesn't. They will rally eventually.
Yeah, and then they'll shoot all their shots. I think the moment where we see the balance of power really turn is once Malekith comes back and just wrecks Alethanar.
Gets the next Soul Stealer. Still has one in his back pocket. He gets about 3 every battle. Unless he's been using chill winds as well, then it's going to take a little while longer. I do believe there were a few chill winds that I heard, but not really saw. Dark Riders have rallied, are shooting. I think we're seeing the death throws. The High Elf army here.
And I can see why tank is playing it out, because the balance of power doesn't look that bad. Like I personally never quit if the balance of power is like that. Just because, what if you get that judgment wrong and you actually quit when you could have made it? You feel like such an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, some players just don't, like to exhaust themselves on a game that looks lost. I mean, if Soothsayer is losing, he often does that. Leaving early, you can kind of recognize when it's over anyway. Most of the time, but yeah, some players prefer to keep fighting on, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, unless you're like the undead or something, and just hanging on with unroutable units. She's not that bad with the undead. It's more like when someone just has Gotrek.
Oh.
They're just standing there.
Yeah, when you have like some unbreakable units left and it's obvious that they're not going to win.
Yeah. Everything else has given way to army losses.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can hope your opponent desyncs or something. Accidentally leaves the game, hits Alt F4.
I mean, to be fair, it is all coming down to single entities, and that is all RNG. So when Malekith attacks Alethanar, in theory, there is a very, very, very small chance that Malekith will just keep missing his attacks, and Alethanar is going to just beat him down.
You're willing to bet on that?
No.
That's what I thought. I mean, I'll never forget that Soothsayer told me that he lost Luen once in a 1v1 duel against the Great Eagle. So it does happen. It's not very often. And Alethanar survives, but the battle's over anyway.
I mean, he kind of forced himself to rout by taking shots, which reduces his value in the balance of power.